Back again with a new training routine. This time we're going to do a back and legs routine. Now, if you saw my previous video, where I recommended doing a chest and the abs routine. And so now you may be wondering, why not do a back and lower back routine? Well, you obviously can do that. There are many ways to set up a training program. It's just that for this setup, I'm considering that well, the lower back while you train your legs can be hammered pretty hard already, especially when you are doing squats and deadlifts. So well, I figured, well, one possible setup is to mix the leg day with the back day. And besides, these workouts are already so short that you have space to do more. You have room to put more exercises in. And besides, how cool is it, right? You are able to, in just one single training session, to train your back and smash your legs at the same time. There is only going to be one type of back training, okay? And there are going to be two types of leg training. So what we're going to do is, in the first day that you train your legs and back, you're going to do the back training, since there is only one variation, and you're going to do variation number 1 for the legs. Then again, after you recover your muscles, you're going to do your back training again. You repeat the same training that you did previously, but this time you're going to do the legs training variation number 2. Now, onto the exercises themselves. Let's start with the leg day, more specifically with variation number 1. Which is going to be more focused on the posterior chain of our legs, meaning we're going to be focusing more on the hamstrings and on the glutes. There is still going to be some quad activation there, but that's just because we are using such compound movements, and that's kind of inevitable. And that's actually good, because by the time you finish one workout session, your entire legs should be recovered for the next one. But basically, so variation number 1, we're going to start with the hip thrusts. Okay, so hip thrusts, the best exercise that you can find out there to specifically target the glutes and the hamstrings. So I had to include this exercise. You can use it as your first exercise, for example. And after this, we're going to do deadlifts. Now, deadlifts are a little bit more, they involve a little bit more of the quads. But again, is a super staple exercise, one of the best out there to target the posterior chain of our legs. And well, since we are also training our back, right? So we are doing as you will see further in the video, we're going to do pull-ups and bent over rows. So with the deadlifts, we're also going to be training our lower back. And this is where the decision between using one of these two exercises that I recommend, you have the sumo deadlift or the conventional deadlifts. And then choosing between the two depends on which part of your body you want to focus more. So with the conventional deadlift, you can see that well, the body starts in the upper body starts in a more horizontal position. So this deadlift is going to focus a little bit more on the lower back muscles. So if you have some kind of lower back problems, this is probably not the best variation for you. And also the bar is going to be traveling much more. So you kind of have to have hip mobility to do this the deadlift variation. So this comes to the sumo deadlifts. This brings us to the sumo deadlift variation. Now this variation is also a very good glutes and hamstrings variation, but this one, since you can have your back in a much more upright position, this variation is going to put a lot less stress on your lower back, and so it's going to possibly be better for people who have lower back issues. Also, since the sumo deadlift is a deadlift much more similar to a squat, right? Because your legs are spread further apart. You can also get a little bit more quad activation, but again, it's still a posterior chain focused drill. Now, another thing to consider while doing the sumo deadlift is that it may also require a little bit more flexibility on your on the adductors of your legs, meaning the muscles of the insides of your legs, because you have to push your legs out to the side. You have to open your legs, and it may require a little bit more flexibility in that sense to be able to spread your legs apart. So basically, to sum everything up, if you want to put more of a lower back emphasis, choose the conventional deadlift. And if you want to protect, well, I mean, if you're using proper weights, you're going to protect your back either way. But if you want to reduce the strain on your lower back, you're going to use the sumo deadlift. So there you go, two variations that you can choose. What you can do also is one week you do one variation, the other week you do another variation. Another possible option is to, as a beginner, in the same workout session, do 2 sets. I recommend doing 4 sets, right? So you can do 2 sets of a sumo deadlift and two sets of a conventional deadlift. Although the workload may not be appropriate for both to be included in the same workout session. But again, as a beginner, what most important is that you practice and learn the techniques of all these variations. So yeah. Now, third exercise. Well, there is a problem with the hip thrusts and with the deadlift is that they don't target one muscle of the hamstrings, which is the small head of the biceps of the biceps femoris. It doesn't target the small head because the small head of the biceps femoris doesn't connect to the hip. So if you only do deadlifts and hip thrusts, you're missing out on important gains for your leg. So we're going to have to use some kind of leg curling motion. Okay, we're going to have to use, as I recommend in the video, leg curls on the TRX. This way you will be able to target this small head of the biceps femoris and well, maximize your growth on your legs. And also you also be targeting a little bit of the gastrocnemius, which is a muscle of the calf muscles. Because the gastrocnemius is also a muscle that is involved in the flexion or of the curling of the legs. So there you go. 3 exercises: hip thrusts, deadlifts, and leg curls for the leg day variation number 1. Now for leg day variation number 2, this variation is going to be a little bit more quads focused. We still have glutes and hamstrings and lower back activation because of the exercise choices. There are such compound movements that becomes inevitable, and it's actually good, right? You want to recruit the most amount of musculature so that you get the biggest adaptations possible with as little time investment as possible. So first exercise, squats. I recommend doing 4 sets, super staple exercise. If I had to choose one leg exercise to do for the rest of my life for my legs, I would probably choose the squats. So there you go. Next exercise, I recommend doing lunges. You can do, since this is a more you're working one leg at a time. I recommend doing a little bit less sets, because if you do like 4 sets for the left leg and 4 sets for the right leg, then you're going to become super tired by the end of the workout, and we still have more stuff to focus on. So lunges, just try to make sure that when you do the lunge, you lean a little bit forward, so that you shift the weight a little bit more on the leg that's in front of you. Okay, so that way you will. That's what we're trying to achieve here. The most of the work has to be done with the leg that's in front of you. Final exercise, a little bit more, as I said before, focused on the squat, on the quads, which is the leg extensions on the TRX. So again, 2 sets for the left leg and 2 sets for the right leg. So this concludes our leg day variation number 2. Now for our back workouts, I recommend doing 2 types of compound movements. One is the vertical pulls, you with the pull-ups, so as to target more your lats, which are these muscles here, these huge muscles that help with the adduction of your arms. And the other are horizontal pulls. This variation is going to target your not so much your lats, but your rhomboids, which are the muscles that are between your scapulas, and push them together. Right, when you do this movement, you're bringing your scapulas together, and you're using more of the rhomboids. So 2 types of motions important to train in these short workouts. And finally, a little bit of isolation work for the biceps, because the bicep curls, I recommend doing bicep curls, 3 to 4 sets, because the biceps, although they get hammered pretty hard during pull-ups and during bent over rows, especially if you're doing pull-ups with a supinated grip, you're going to, with a supinated grip, you're going to target your biceps much more. It's still not enough to make the most gains in muscle and strength. So a little bit of isolation work with bicep curls is also recommended. So this concludes our back day workout. So one final tip that you can use in your workout structure in order to give the most amount of rest between sets for each muscle group is to, as I said in my previous video with the chest and the abs workout routine, is to mix the sets of the exercise. So you do back work and leg work at the same time, resting between sets. So for example, let's say you're doing the back and legs workout variation number 2. So what you're going to do is you're going to, for example, my suggestion is starting with the squats and then doing the pull-ups. For the second part of the exercise, you're going to do the lunges, and you're going to mix them with the bent over rows. And finally, you're going to mix the biceps with the leg extensions. So basically, what you can do is you do 1 set of biceps, 1 set of leg extensions, 1 set of biceps, 1 set of leg extensions. So that way you are able to maximize the rest between muscle groups, although it may be a little bit more taxing on the cardiovascular system, because although you're resting the muscle group, you're switching to the other exercise much more quickly without resting the cardiovascular system. If you're going to do the legs and back variation number one, the setup I recommend is to mix the hip thrusts with the pull-ups. Then you're going to want to do the deadlifts, and the reason I pair the deadlifts with the bicep curls is because there you want to be as little fatigued from your wrists, because your grip strength is going to be important for the deadlift. So if you're carrying any kind of fatigue from any other exercise, let's say you were doing bent over rows and deadlifts. The fact that you're doing bent over rows, you're going to carry that fatigue on to the deadlift. So the idea is to rest your grip strength a little bit on the bicep curls and do the deadlifts with full capacity. And finally, we're going to mix the leg curls, with the bent over rows. So again, very little carryover of fatigue from one exercise to the other. One final thing that I forgot to mention is that the legs workout that I recommend in this video are not enough to promote at the end of the week. If you sum the total amount of sets for each muscle group, they're not enough to promote to optimize the muscle gains. So you're going to have to somehow somewhere put in a little bit more work, some specific work for the quads and some specific work for the glutes and the hamstrings. So what I recommend is, for example, let's say that you did this workout, like variation number one, for the legs on a Tuesday. Then on Thursday, you're going to do variation number two. And what I recommend is by the weekend, on Saturday or on Sunday, again doing some quads and some specific work to increase the number of sets. You don't need to do again deadlifts or squats. As a beginner, I would recommend doing those kinds of lifts only once a week, but you can do some more curling or some more leg extension. So it has to increase the number of sets to the minimum amount of effective volume. So remember, you have to do at least from 10 to 20 sets to for each muscle group to maximize, or to, I wouldn't say maximize, but to optimize the um, the muscle gains, to make it as cost efficient, as time efficient as possible.